What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, while you are sitting and watching this video, your eyes are slowly being destroyed? Not by your phone, not by your laptop, not by any screen, but by something so ordinary, so everyday, so completely invisible to you that you have never once stopped to question it. What if the real killer of your eyesight has been hiding inside your daily routine this entire time, disguised as a normal habit? Something you do every single morning, every single night, something your parents do, your children do, something that feels completely harmless, but is silently, aggressively, and permanently stealing your vision one day at a time. What if by the end of this video you realize that the thing destroying your eyes the most is not what you are looking at, but how you are living? Because the truth is shocking. The truth is uncomfortable. And the truth is something that eye specialists are desperate for people to understand before it is too late. So do not move, do not skip, because what you are about to hear could literally save your sight and change your life forever. What if I told you that the greatest threat to your eyesight right now is not the screen you are staring at, but a collection of silent, invisible, completely normalized habits that you repeat every single day without ever questioning them, without ever suspecting them, without ever imagining that they could be the very reason your vision is fading, your eyes are straining, and your sight is slowly but permanently deteriorating? Because that is exactly what is happening. And today, we are going to talk about 5 habits, 5 shockingly common, dangerously underestimated habits that are destroying your eyesight far more aggressively than any phone screen ever could. Let us begin with the first habit, and this one is going to shock you deeply because it is something almost every single person on this planet does without a second thought. You wake up in the morning, your eyes are itchy, they feel tired, they feel uncomfortable, and without even thinking, you reach up and you rub them. Hard, both hands. You dig your knuckles in, you press, you grind, and for a brief moment, it feels like relief. But what is actually happening inside your eye at that exact moment is nothing short of terrifying. Every single time you rub your eyes with even moderate force, you are creating a sudden, massive spike in intraocular pressure, the pressure inside your eyeball. And this pressure spike can be up to 10 times the normal level your eye is designed to handle. Think about that, 10 times. In repeated episodes, this chronic pressure increase begins to damage the optic nerve, the same nerve that is responsible for transmitting every single image you see to your brain. The same nerve that once damaged does not regenerate, does not recover, does not come back. But it does not stop there, because rubbing your eyes also physically distorts the shape of your cornea, the clear dome at the front of your eye. Over time, with consistent, habitual rubbing, this cornea begins to thin, begins to bulge forward in an irregular cone shape, and this condition has a name. It is called keratoconus. Keratoconus is a progressive degenerative eye disease that causes severe visual distortion, extreme light sensitivity, and in advanced stages, it requires surgical intervention, including corneal transplants. And one of its most significant risk factors, documented repeatedly in clinical research, is chronic eye rubbing. And then consider this. Your hands at any given moment are covered in thousands of bacteria and microorganisms. When you rub your eyes, you are directly introducing those organisms into one of the most delicate, most vulnerable, most infection-prone tissues in your entire body. Conjunctivitis, corneal ulcers, and serious ocular infections have all been directly linked to the simple, innocent-seeming act of rubbing your eyes. So the next time your eyes feel itchy or tired, the answer is not your knuckles. The answer is a cold compress, artificial tears, or simply blinking deliberately and slowly to redistribute your tear film. Because that habit, that one simple reflex, could be quietly carving the path toward permanent visual damage that no glasses, no surgery, and no medication can fully undo. The second habit is one that nobody ever talks about in the context of eye health, and yet it may be one of the most devastating contributors to deteriorating vision in the modern world. We are talking about chronic dehydration, specifically not drinking enough water throughout the day. Your eyes are not just optical instruments. They are living, breathing, fluid-dependent organs. The eye depends on a constant, well-maintained supply of moisture, not just on the surface in the form of tears, but internally in the form of fluids that nourish, lubricate, and pressurize the entire eyeball structure. When your body is dehydrated, it immediately begins rationing water, and the eyes are among the first organs to feel that rationing brutally. When you do not drink enough water, your tear production drops. Your tear film, that thin, three-layered protective coating over the surface of your eye, becomes unstable, breaks apart too quickly, and leaves the cornea exposed to air and environmental irritants. This creates what is clinically known as dry eye syndrome, and while it sounds minor, it is anything but. Chronic dry eye causes persistent surface inflammation, corneal microabrasions, tiny scratches across the surface of your eye that you cannot feel but that accumulate damage over time. And eventually, it can lead to corneal scarring that permanently clouds your vision. Beyond dry eye, dehydration also affects the vitreous humor, the gel-like substance that fills the inside of your eyeball and maintains its round shape. When this gel begins to lose hydration, it can shrink and pull on the retina, increasing the risk of retinal tears, retinal detachment, and the development of floaters, those annoying dark shapes and shadows that drift across your field of vision. And here is what makes this habit so insidious. Most people who are chronically dehydrated do not feel thirsty. They have simply adapted to operating in a state of mild dehydration so consistently that their thirst mechanism has dulled. They drink coffee, they drink tea, they drink everything except adequate plain water, and their eyes pay the price silently, daily, and progressively. The recommendation is clear and consistent across the board. A minimum of 8 glasses of water per day for basic eye health, and more if you are in a hot climate, exercising, or spending extended time in air-conditioned environments that accelerate moisture loss from the ocular surface. The third habit is something that the vast majority of people have been told is related to heart health, to brain health, to skin health, but almost nobody connects it to their eyes. And yet the connection is devastating, direct, and deeply alarming. We are talking about poor nutrition, specifically a diet that is chronically deficient in the nutrients that the retina, the lens, and the optic nerve absolutely require to survive and function. Your retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the entire human body. It burns energy at an extraordinary rate. It requires a constant, rich supply of very specific micronutrients to perform the biochemical processes that allow you to see color, to see in low light, to perceive sharp detail, and to protect itself from the oxidative damage caused by light exposure every single day of your life. The most critical nutrients for eye health are lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 carotenoids that are found in high concentrations in the macula, the central part of your retina responsible for your sharpest central vision. These 2 compounds act as a natural internal sunscreen for your retina, absorbing harmful blue light and neutralizing free radicals before they can damage the photoreceptor cells that make sight possible. When your diet does not supply adequate lutein and zeaxanthin, your macular pigment thins, your retinal protection weakens, and your risk of age-related macular degeneration, the leading cause of permanent central vision loss in adults over 50, skyrockets dramatically. Then there is vitamin A, the absence of which was historically one of the leading causes of blindness in the developing world and remains a serious global health issue today. Vitamin A is essential for the production of rhodopsin, the pigment in your rod cells that allows you to see in dim light. Without it, night blindness develops first, and if the deficiency continues, the cornea begins to deteriorate in a condition called xerophthalmia, which can progress to complete irreversible corneal destruction. Omega-3 fatty acids are equally critical, particularly DHA, which is a structural component of the retinal cell membrane. Without adequate omega-3 in your diet, retinal cell membranes weaken, tear film quality deteriorates, and inflammatory processes in the eye accelerate. And vitamin C and vitamin E round out the critical antioxidant defense system that protects the lens of the eye from oxidative clouding, the process that leads directly to cataracts. Now ask yourself honestly, how often do you eat leafy greens? How regularly do you consume fatty fish, eggs, colorful vegetables, and antioxidant-rich foods? Because if your honest answer is not very often, then your diet is not just affecting your waistline or your energy levels. It is actively starving your retina, weakening your optic nerve, and accelerating the timeline toward vision loss in ways that no eye drop and no prescription lens can reverse. The fourth habit is one that will disturb you on a very fundamental level because it involves something you do every single night, something that feels completely out of your control, something that modern life has systematically and aggressively stolen from most people, and that is sleep. Specifically, chronic sleep deprivation. While you sleep, your body performs extraordinary repair work. Your brain clears metabolic waste products, your muscles rebuild, your immune system strengthens, and your eyes go through a process that is absolutely critical to their long-term survival and health. During sleep, the eyes are finally fully closed, protected and lubricated by a special composition of tears that is different from the tears produced while awake. This nighttime tear film replenishes the ocular surface, heals microdamage accumulated throughout the day, and delivers concentrated nutrients to the cornea, which has no blood supply of its own and relies entirely on tears and aqueous humor for its nourishment. Clinical studies have shown that chronic sleep deprivation is significantly associated with increased risk of glaucoma, one of the most devastating eye diseases in existence, characterized by progressive optic nerve damage that leads to tunnel vision and eventually total blindness. This association is believed to be related to the disruption of intraocular pressure regulation that normally occurs during sleep, combined with reduced blood flow to the optic nerve during the nighttime recovery period. Beyond glaucoma risk, sleep deprivation causes persistent eye strain, involuntary twitching of the eyelid called myokemia, worsening of dry eye symptoms, increased light sensitivity, blurred vision, and difficulty focusing, all of which represent the eye's desperate attempt to communicate that it has not received the recovery time it fundamentally needs. In a world that celebrates busyness, that glorifies the person who sleeps 4 hours and claims to function perfectly, we must understand with absolute clarity that your eyes are keeping a very precise and very unforgiving account of every hour of sleep you steal from them. And they will present that bill, slowly, progressively, and permanently. The fifth habit is perhaps the most underestimated, the most universally practiced, and in terms of long-term cumulative damage, potentially the most catastrophic habit on this entire list. It is the habit of going outdoors, walking to your car, stepping out for lunch, spending time outside, without any form of UV protection for your eyes. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun does not ask permission before it begins damaging your eyes. It does not wait until summer. It does not take a day off when there are clouds in the sky. In fact, UV radiation can penetrate cloud cover with up to 80% of its full intensity, meaning that on an overcast day, when you squint a little less and feel a little more comfortable, you may actually be absorbing dangerous UV levels with your eyes wide open and completely unguarded. UV radiation accumulates. Every single day of unprotected UV exposure adds to a lifetime total that the lens and retina of your eye are silently absorbing, storing, and reacting to. The lens responds by yellowing, hardening, and clouding over time. This is a cataract, and while cataracts are surgically treatable, the surgery carries risks, the recovery is significant, and the underlying damage to the eye has been done irreversibly. The retina responds to cumulative UV damage through a process of photoreceptor cell death, the progressive destruction of the rods and cones that make vision possible. This is the mechanism underlying age-related macular degeneration, the condition that robs people of their central vision, their ability to read, to recognize faces, to drive, to see the world in the sharp, detailed, colorful way that healthy eyes can. UV exposure is one of its most significant and most preventable risk factors. And yet, look around you. How many people do you see wearing UV protective sunglasses? How many people step into the midday sun with their eyes completely bare? How many people have never once considered that their daily walk, their morning commute, their afternoon in the garden, their years and decades of casual, unprotected outdoor time are all being added to a tally that their retinas are keeping very, very carefully? The solution is remarkably simple. UV blocking sunglasses. Not fashion sunglasses, but those specifically rated for UV 400 protection, blocking 100% of both UVA and UVB radiation, are one of the single most effective preventive tools for long-term eye health ever identified. They cost very little relative to what they protect, and yet they remain one of the most neglected pieces of preventive eye care in the world. So let us bring this all together, because what we have covered today is not a list of obscure medical concerns that only apply to elderly patients or people with pre-existing conditions. What we have uncovered today are 5 habits that are actively present in the daily lives of billions of people right now. Habits so normalized that most people will finish watching this and think, yes, but surely it cannot be that serious for me. And that is exactly the mindset that makes these habits so extraordinarily dangerous. Your eyes are the most sophisticated optical instruments ever created. They process 10 million bits of information per second. They give you color, depth, detail, and the ability to experience the visual beauty of everything and everyone around you. They deserve intentional, informed, daily protection, not after the damage is done, but starting right now, today, with the choices you make in the next 24 hours. Stop rubbing your eyes, drink your water, feed your retina, sleep adequately, protect yourself from the sun. These are not complicated instructions. They are not expensive interventions. They are simple, powerful, accessible habits that can genuinely change the trajectory of your visual health for the rest of your life. Because your vision is not something you truly appreciate until the day you begin to lose it. And by then, it is almost always too late to take back what the years of careless habits have quietly taken away. Now ask yourself honestly, how often do you eat leafy greens? How regularly do you consume fatty fish, eggs, colorful vegetables, and antioxidant-rich foods? Because if your honest answer is not very often, then your diet is not just affecting your waistline or your energy levels. It is actively starving your retina, weakening your optic nerve, and accelerating the timeline toward vision loss in ways that no eye drop and no prescription lens can reverse. The 4th habit is one that will disturb you on a very fundamental level because it involves something you do every single night, something that feels completely out of your control, something that modern life has systematically and aggressively stolen from most people, and that is sleep. Specifically, chronic sleep deprivation. When you deprive yourself of sleep, whether it is staying up late, waking repeatedly through the night, or simply not prioritizing adequate rest, you interrupt this entire repair cycle. The cornea does not fully heal. The tear film does not fully replenish. The optic nerve does not get the metabolic rest it requires. And the retinal ganglion cells, the specialized neurons that form the optic nerve and transmit visual signals to the brain, begin to experience stress signals that, over time, accumulate into structural damage. While you sleep, your body performs extraordinary repair work. Your brain clears metabolic waste products, your muscles rebuild, your immune system strengthens, and your eyes. Your eyes go through a process that is absolutely critical to their long-term survival and health. During sleep, the eyes are finally fully closed, protected and lubricated by a special composition of tears that is different from the tears produced while awake. This nighttime tear film replenishes the ocular surface, heals micro damage accumulated throughout the day, and delivers concentrated nutrients to the cornea, which has no blood supply of its own and relies entirely on tears and aqueous humor for its nourishment. Now ask yourself honestly, how often do you eat leafy greens? How regularly do you consume fatty fish, eggs, colorful vegetables, and antioxidant-rich foods? Because if your honest answer is not very often, then your diet is not just affecting your waistline or your energy levels. It is actively starving your retina, weakening your optic nerve, and accelerating the timeline toward vision loss in ways that no eye drop and no prescription lens can reverse. The 4th habit is one that will disturb you on a very fundamental level because it involves something you do every single night, something that feels completely out of your control, something that modern life has systematically and aggressively stolen from most people, and that is sleep. Specifically, chronic sleep deprivation. EyeHealth does not announce its deterioration loudly. It does not send a single dramatic warning. It erodes quietly, gradually, and almost invisibly until one day you realize that the world looks a little blurrier than it used to, that you need a stronger prescription than last year, that there are new floaters in your vision, that you cannot see as clearly in dim light as you once could. And by that point, a significant amount of the damage is already done. The 5 habits we discussed today, rubbing your eyes habitually, living in chronic dehydration, neglecting the nutritional needs of your retina, stealing sleep from your body night after night, and walking through life without UV protection, each one individually is damaging. Together, practiced simultaneously and chronically as most people practice them, they create a compounding, accelerating cycle of eye damage that no amount of screen time reduction alone can counteract. Eye health does not announce its deterioration loudly. It does not send a single dramatic warning. It erodes quietly, gradually, and almost invisibly, until one day you realize that the world looks a little blurrier than it used to, that you need a stronger prescription than last year, that there are new floaters in your vision, that you cannot see as clearly in dim light as you once could. And by that point, a significant amount of the damage is already done. The 5 habits we discussed today, rubbing your eyes habitually, living in chronic dehydration, neglecting the nutritional needs of your retina, stealing sleep from your body night after night, and walking through life without UV protection. Each one individually is damaging. Together, practiced simultaneously and chronically as most people practice them, they create a compounding, accelerating cycle of eye damage that no amount of screen time reduction alone can counteract. Eye health does not announce its deterioration loudly. It does not send a single dramatic warning. It erodes quietly, gradually, and almost invisibly, until one day you realize that the world looks a little blurrier than it used to, that you need a stronger prescription than last year, that there are new floaters in your vision, that you cannot see as clearly in dim light as you once could. And by that point, a significant amount of the damage is already done. The 5 habits we discussed today, rubbing your eyes habitually, living in chronic dehydration, neglecting the nutritional needs of your retina, stealing sleep from your body night after night, and walking through life without UV protection. Each one individually is damaging. Together, practiced simultaneously and chronically as most people practice them, they create a compounding, accelerating cycle of eye damage that no amount of screen time reduction alone can counteract.